Today we'll be going commercial lobstering off the coast of Maine, the lobster capital of the world. If you didn't know, we're trying to catch up to Gordon, so listen to this lobster and go smack that subscribe button. We'll see you on the docks.
Found it. How you doing?
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you
This
too.
is Manny.
The Manny. How you doing, Manny?
So what's a typical day on the water? How long are you out there?
So we usually leave around 4:30 in the morning, haul till about 2:30 in the afternoon, get back around 3, unload our lobsters, and call it a day.
What is the significance of the boat name?
It is superstitious never to change the name of a boat. It's bad juju. I changed the name of a boat one time, and within 2 weeks, I had flipped it over and almost died. This was always my dream boat growing up, this style hull. I went up to look at it, looked beautiful, and then I saw the name and I kind of thought, oh no, I'm not sure if I can pull that off, but over time it's grown on me. I'm never changing the name of a boat ever again.
As Kurt readied our ship for the seas, he had some second thoughts.
All right, see you guys later, have fun.
But fortunately, he pulled through. Before getting started with the lobstering, I had to put on the appropriate gear.
Oh, it's wet there. Get mad at Manny, you got that?
Now that I was all geared up, we were ready to start heading out to sea to find our first lobster trap.
Here we go, first trap coming up.
I was excited.
Everybody's got their own buoy color. Obviously this one needs a new paint job, but when I was a kid, these were the 2 buoy colors in my parents' garage. So that's the science that goes into
I like that.
choosing buoy colors. Let's see, we are in 32 feet of water.
So this machine pulls it right up for you.
Yeah, goes up and over the block into the hauler, and then hauler does all the work.
A little different from my joke of a summer lobster operation, how many? Okay, so this right here is our first lobster trap. And I swear, these are actually ours. We're not just pulling up random people's traps right now.
When we were kids, we would haul traps by hand like this, and just the thought of having to do that now would probably be enough to keep me in bed in the morning. What do we got? Whoa.
A couple lobsters. So you baited up with fish heads? Is that what that is?
Yep, so those are redfish heads right there. Here we have a lobster, 2 claws. We always have to check whether it's a male or a female. Manny, any guesses what this one is here?
Female.
Close, it's the other one. 50-50 chance. So this is a male, so we don't have to worry about eggs. If it's an egg lobster, we have to throw it back. But before we throw an egg lobster back, we have to put a V-notch in that tail flipper right there. And that signifies that she's a proven breeder, so that even if she's caught again without eggs, she goes back into the water. It's one of the ways we protect our resource. So this is a male, which means we get to measure it. So we have both a minimum size, which is 3 1/4 inches carapace length. The carapace is the shell of the lobster before the tail. And then we also have a maximum size here in Maine. Too big, it's going back. Same reason, those are the breeders. You measure from the back of the eye socket, and if that touches the shell of the lobster, it's a keeper. So this one right here is a keeper.
So we got one.
So we got 1 lobster. We can check that off the list. We're not gonna go hungry later on. That was my biggest concern today. First thing we do, put Maine wedding bands on it.
Is that so that it doesn't kill other lobsters?
So when lobsters are in the close confines of a tank like the one on my boat, they tend not to get along very well. So we put those bands on right away.
And you always hold them like this so that their arms are crossed?
That's an easy way to ensure that they can't kind of reach around, because they're pretty flexible. And if a lobster like this gets a hold of you, you'll definitely know it. They got 2 different types of claws. It's like a crusher claw, and that's more for crushing shells, so that would break a bone. And then this ripper claw here is more for shredding stuff apart, so that would probably cut your finger pretty good. Manny, what's this one?
Female.
Very good, nailed it. So this is a female here. She doesn't have any eggs on the underside of her tail, but she does have that notch, and now she's illegal to keep. So she has to go back into the water.
Can I let her free?
Toss her back. We didn't catch any lobsters, this was gonna be lunch right here. So before we push the trap over, whenever we're on the boat and I have someone new on there, I always tell them, rule number 1, know where your feet are relative to the rope, because nothing will pull you overboard faster than that rope.
After pushing the trap back into the sea and managing not to go overboard, we headed off to our second trap. We even put Manny to work this time. All right, Manny, I see it up there. Don't miss it. Manny, don't miss it. Don't, Manny!
Miss it!
Don't miss it, Manny.
Right there.
Oh my god.
Oh!
That's impressive right there. Here we go.
Trap number 2. Oh, we got a few more. Quick question for you. I've heard that lobstermen can be quite territorial. So what happens if someone messes with your trap? Because that happens, right?
It happens. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does happen, it's kind of a big deal and it needs to be dealt with. There are subtle and not so subtle ways of letting people know that they're bad apples, and typically those bad apples don't last very long in the fisheries.
Or in general.
Local brass, he sleeps with the fishes.
This one's too small. We're letting her go.
We're letting him go.
Letting him go.
It's easier than pie. Can fly.
Oh, wow. Manny, you see that?
Saw it.
First trap. Up and over, under here, around this, and then it goes.
Look
And I
at
toss this
that.
up.
Smooth as silk.
the ride. He's a big one though, or she.
Last chance here, Manny.
Male.
Nailed it.
So can I take this guy and then for the band? So I'm grabbing this, sticking it into the bucket of bands.
Around the club. That's why I wear sunglasses.
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah.
I should be grabbing him more like you with both claws, but I
Yeah.
can really just go like this, right on. He almost got me, Manny. This is proving to be way more difficult than I thought it was.
He's fighting you.
He's gonna band you before we know it. And then a twist. Nailed it. That's it.
He's done. I got him. There's the second one. Little twist.
Like a pro.
This guy's done, huh? There we go, Manny. High five. Let's go.
Okay, Clara, I'm gonna circle back around in there when I tell you to, okay? You give it a big punch. 1, 2, 3, go! Nice job, Clara! Give Nick a high five. Yeah!
Having caught all the lobsters we needed to get cooking, it was time to go back, and our high seas adventure had sadly come to an end.
And home.
Made it, Manny. It's been a good run in my lobstering gear, but it's time to take it off.
What are you doing?
Manny, come on. You know my feet got wet. Manny, just... After getting dry, Kurt offered to give us a tour of the facilities that process the lobsters after they're caught. This is where they put all those lobsters to wait and stay alive before they're sent everywhere.
Essentially, we've got 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools full of chilled seawater.
So these are all filled with lobsters that they bring in right off the water. The water is crisp.
Yeah, nice and chilly. So before you ship a lobster, you have to hold them in cold water
to bring their metabolism down before shipping.
You gotta do it. If you want to ship a lobster to Paris, Madrid, Rome, Shanghai, Guangzhou, gotta bring their body temperature down before they hop on that plane.
So they're shipping lobster around the whole world. That's why Maine is known as the lobster capital of the world.
People don't come to Maine to eat chicken, that's for sure. This is one of the ones we caught. Got a super hard shell. It hasn't molted in a very long time. You can't even get any movement on the shell there. These ones are a little softer shelled, so if you feel that, see there's a little give there. It's gonna be a lot easier to crack these ones than these ones.
So we're gonna take some of these lobsters that we caught, go to the processing facility and show you how to break them down. Most people have no idea how to actually eat a whole lobster out of its shell. We need to show them how it's done.
Let's do it.
All right, so we're in the car. We're just a few minutes away from the dock we just left from, and we're at the lobster processing facility now. This place is huge. And then here, we'll break down a few lobster and see how it's done. So now that we're back at the processing facility in the kitchen, I'm willing to bet that most of you watching have pretty much no idea how to break down a whole lobster and actually get all the meat out. As the resident lobster expert, take us through how we do that.
We got some water heating up. We're almost to a boil. Once that gets there, we'll steam them.
A lot of chefs will shove something in the tail so it stays straight instead of curling up while cooking.
All we're doing here is inserting this wooden skewer right in the tail. We got boiling water, so we want to throw 2 in there so we have a backup. Before we throw them in the pot, we always take the bands off. 1 in, don't get bit, in the pot. So we got 2 1.5 pound, 1 3/4 lobsters in the pot right now. I give those usually about 12 to 14 minutes once the water comes back to a rolling boil. These guys are hard shell, so we'll go a little closer to 14 minutes. Sound like a plan? Do it. Yeah.
While we wait for the lobster to cook, apparently, I've never had this before, by the way, if you just fry lobster, it's delicious. Is that right?
Everything fried is delicious. What we have here is a unique opportunity for lobster. This is called our cold cracked raw lobster meat. It's 100% raw lobster meat.
It's really hard to get lobster meat out raw. I mean, look at the color on there. If you see a chef in any restaurant, they'll do something called parboiling, which is almost like blanching. Manny, what's blanching? You're fired. You're basically just cooking it for a short period of time to tighten the meat up and actually be able to take it out of the shell. So how was Kurt able to get us this unusual raw lobster meat? The processing plant has a crazy machine called the high pressure processor. This machine basically forces over 80,000 PSI of water pressure through these lobsters, separating the meat from the shells raw.
So all we do, take our raw lobster, a little bit of an egg wash, take it out of the egg wash, and dredge it, some breading. Really, really simple, really standard stuff, but because very few people can produce lobster raw, you never see fried lobster. All right, into the fryer.
Just right in? I was always taught, give it a little sway, you know?
I was never taught anything. We figured this out just by trial and error. I like the sway though, I'm gonna go with that.
That smells really good.
Oh, just wait, here we go. Here we go.
Wow.
Fried lobster.
I've been around a lot of lobster and I've never seen lobster like this.
Very few people have had the opportunity to try this right here.
You made a little sauce?
We've got a little bang bang sauce right here. Before we try it in the bang bang sauce, we're both gonna try one without it just to get the overall flavor of it.
Alright, where we go? It's really juicy.
The moisture content in there and
That's
just
really
the overall tenderness, I feel like is better than steamed lobster.
Alright, where we go? Manny, you want some?
Yeah.
Open up.
Oh, hot.
He has a horrible heat tolerance.
You wanna try another one that doesn't burn your mouth?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Manny.
Holy f***, that's good.
Alright, so our lobsters here should be all set. That was a perfect little treat on the side. Teach me your ways here.
The way I learned if a lobster is done is if you grab the antenna just like this and give it a yank. If it breaks easily like that, lobster's good to go.
I never knew that. Did you know that? Many things. So let's take these bad boys out. This guy is hot as can be.
First things first, let's start with the tail. So what I like to do, just take the tail, separate it from the body, just like that. You remove the wooden skewer or not, it's up to you. The way I break down a tail is I grab it at the second segment right there, snap it. There you have that. Split it like that.
So you're just kind of cracking down the whole tail and splitting it through. So I always have been, for some reason, taught to do the tail in a different way.
Let's see it.
Just stick a fork kind of upside down into the tail, wedge it in there, and then pop it right out like that, where it kind of curls out in a really neat way.
I've never seen that way before. I've never stuck a fork in it before. Honest to God.
What?
I've only broken a tail down one way.
Isn't that cool though?
Beautiful.
It's the same thing. And frankly, your tail is a lot prettier than mine.
Tail is all in the eye of the beholder, I suppose, but yes. And these are my favorite little morsels of lobster right here.
And this is one of the ones that I would say everybody misses.
Look at that tail flipper right there. Look at that chunk of meat.
Squeeze it right out.
Beautiful chunk of lobster.
So there are 4 or 5 of those pieces there that you can take the meat of. And you're just basically cracking it off the end. And then you have that little piece there. And you're just sort of squeezing and pulling that right out of there.
Pinch it right out.
And there you go, now you know. So you can already see the lobster starting to come together here. I'm wondering now if we do the claws in a different way.
Let's find out.
I'm gonna go ahead with the big crusher claw. Show me first, how do you break down the claw?
I start by breaking kind of the knuckle or the arm away from the claw. This right here.
Yeah.
If you do it right, that meat will come out. If you don't, you gotta use a picker for it. I start with a cracker, and this is a really hard shell lobster. So if it doesn't break with the cracker, then I will move to the butcher knife. And if it doesn't work with that, we'll see if we get to that.
You crack right through it.
Yep, just gently enough so that I don't want to break the meat.
Uh-oh, Manny.
We'll use some super glue.
So I actually do it in a different way too. I first do break this off. I try to possibly leave the meat on there.
With a hard shell lobster like that, that meat is packed in there so tight it's tough to get it out.
And then I actually do go ahead with the knife, and I like to just come right, boom. It's such an easy way, right? To just get that big piece. And then all you do is shimmy it right out of there. So much tough meat with the hard shell. So the knuckle meat is actually one of my favorite bites in a lobster. It's always so sweet, right?
Sweet and tender.
Jinx again.
So I would say there's 2 more parts to the lobster. First, you have kind of that body, which you can really dive into. I don't think we need to because it gets kind of messy.
No, I don't bother.
However, there's tons of meat inside there, and if you really want to get your fingers and go through there, I always love to. And that last part is the legs, right?
Yep, we got 8 of them. The best way to get the meat out of a leg, bite it right out from the end all the way back. Here at the plant, we literally have leg rollers, and we produce 2,000 pounds of leg meat every single day.
And they're just these tiny little specks of leg, but they can have plenty of meat in them.
I'm gonna be blatantly honest with you here with the leg roller. I've never rolled a leg myself in my entire life. When I get through the claws and the tail, I just start over with another lobster. Most people, if you're trying to roll a leg out, you can take anything around and you see that?
Pops right out the end.
There.
It's insane.
Beautiful leg meat.
In one piece too. Now that we've gotten the majority of the meat out of this lobster, it's time to lay it all out and see what we've accomplished. We've just shown you how to take out every last piece of meat in a lobster, which I would argue is very important, especially if you're in Maine. I want to give you a massive thank you for taking us out on the boat. I'm sorry, man, it can be a bit of a liability.
He did an amazing job on the boat.
No, watch out, watch out, watch out! One last reminder to toss a like on the video, and with that,
Over and out. How fast does this thing go?
we'll find out.
That didn't feel real.